Dev ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Guru Dev, give to this servant just one drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Give me all help, give me strength. Let me be as you are, without desires or aspirations.
Give me energy so that I can properly give respect and honor to all. Then I shall be able to happily chant the holy name, and my offenses will go away.
Oh my Lord, when will such mercy fall to this person? I am weak, perfect, and devoid of intelligence. Please allow me to be with you.
If you examine me, you will find no qualities. Your mercy is everything to me. If you are not merciful unto me, I can only weep, and I will not be able to maintain my life.
So, last part of the song is indicating some degree of desperation. And desperation means extreme necessity. And there's one verse by Srila Rupa Goswami. He says, Tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam janmakoti sukritam nalabhyate. Amulya means like a quality. And Rupa Goswami said there's only one quality that is necessary for real spiritual life. And lolyam means intense hankering, real necessity. So that is going to be the power of a sincere search. There has to be need inside of us. So that expression at the end of the song is extreme need. And what do we see at the beginning of Gita? Same thing. Arjuna is desperate. He's in a state of extreme need. He's dropping his bow, he's shaking, his emotions are taking, and now he's asking real questions, not idle academic questions, but questions of desperation. And in such a mood, you can actually hear truth, because all of your games and your egotistic patterns, they can be shed in a moment of real, honest sincerity. So, Hare Krishna. So we are going to read Gita, hopefully, in that type of mood today, whatever we can muster. Today we are reading chapter 3, which is called Karma Yoga. Every chapter in the Gita is something yoga. So very often the Gita is called the yoga scripture. A very foundational posture on the path of yoga is what we're going to read today, Karma Yoga. Gabe, are you familiar with Gita? Are you familiar with kind of the setting and everything? So we can kind of just jump right into this. Okay, great. So we just finished chapter 2. Chapter 2 is a very long chapter. It's a kind of an introduction by Krishna. And we can maybe cover a couple key points that are leading into this next chapter. First key point, Arjuna's in a state of desperation. He's realizing that an extreme calamity is about to occur. And he's saying, I don't want to have any part of this. And Krishna immediately gives him some dose of a much broader and much more infinite perspective. You have to understand the only thing that powers life of something that is made of matter is spirit. And you're a spirit. You're not this matter. And matter is always going through fluctuations. Matter is always in a state of change. And a wise person is not disturbed by that change. So any body that's populated by matter has some period of life, and then that same body will dissolve and become a different kind of matter. The valuable thing is the soul. So you have to understand that you're a soul, and there was never a time that you did not exist, nor was there ever a time that any of these kings or any of these warriors did not exist. Everyone is an eternal being, and you're living a temporary incarnation within an eternal framework. So that perspective is key to actually process things in your life properly. And Krishna's saying there is Sat, which means that which is eternal, and there's Asat, which means that which is temporary. And in your life, you have to distinguish between these two things. There are things that are temporary, and there are things that are eternal. And you have to start to have this viewpoint on your life. Understand that the fluctuations of matter, that's all happening within a temporary world. It's all phantasmagoria in the end. Matter's just changing its shape. So, that kind of perspective Krishna is giving. And second, he introduces Karma Yoga, saying you have to start to interact with life as a contributor and a participant, but not a taker. You have something to give it without expectation. Be happy to sacrifice in your life. Start to offer yourself to the situations and experiences that you're in, and don't become attached to what's happening in the material world, in the world that's temporary. And Krishna says that result lies with me. So Mapaleshu Kodachana we're going to go into a little bit deeper. And then Krishna also gives some advice to Arjuna about starting to enter into the process of controlling your mind. So a really key concept that gets dived into much deeper in the Gita is gone into, which is, your mind is a part of a part of your conscious experience, but it is not you. And you are a person who is either controlled by your mind or can control your mind. And if you're controlled by your mind, it's not going to be a happy life. But if you can actually start to distinguish between you and your mind, and you be the controller of the mind, then it's much better. Like a critical conception. And it's actually the truth, right? I mean, just to have this perspective that you and your mind are not the same thing, it's a game changer. Okay. All right, so Arjuna is going to ask a question at the beginning of chapter 3, because Krishna introduces, the concept, don't be attached to your action. You need to actually attain the proper perspective, which is wisdom. So then Arjuna asks a very, very good question, which we can jump into. So we'll all read the Sanskrit together. Always try to maintain some connection to the ancient sound, the ancient containers of these ideas, these words. And ask that we be blessed to receive that. Okay. Arjuna uvacha Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyo jayasi keshava vyami shrene vavakena buddhim mohayasi vame tadekam vada nishchitya yena shreyo ham apnuyam. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanagha Jnana Yogena Samkhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. Arjuna said, O Janardana, O Keshava, if you consider wisdom superior to action, why then do you urge me to engage in this violent warfare? I'm confused by your words. They appear to be ambiguous, sometimes supporting action, sometimes supporting wisdom. So please tell me which is the most beneficial path for me to take. Very good question. The Supreme Lord replied, O sinless one, I have described the two paths to be found in this world, the yoga of wisdom, practiced by the realized, and the yoga of selfless action, practiced by those active in the world. Both paths touch the beginning of devotional practice, since the ladder to the plane of devotion is one, while the practice is twofold, according to the stage attained. Okay. So this concept that's in the parentheses in this last verse is going to be gone into more by Krishna. But just to summarize, there's one path of spiritual progression, and it's called Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi is the same word that is the root of Buddha. And Buddhi means enlightenment. So Buddhi Yoga, every permutation of realization on the path of spiritual life, no matter what religion or organization or external kind of sect you label, all has a place of progression within the one path. And so there's always some progression. So Krishna, what's being said in the parentheses is ultimately what all the paths lead to in their stages of progression is a relationship of bhakti with reality. And that's called bhakti yoga. So bhakti yoga means ultimately that you're interacting with all planes of life and every moment of your existence with love toward the Lord. So that's what it's being saying. Both the path of wisdom and the path of karma are both on the path of buddhi yoga that's leading to bhakti. Okay. All right.
Can I just...
Yeah, Prabhu, please.
We're filming stuff for like promotional stuff for the website and social media. I just wanted to put it out there. Like, is everyone comfortable with that? Everyone's okay. I just didn't want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Any thought, comment, question, top? Okay. Verse 4. Na karmana manarambham naishkarmyam purusho shnute nacha sanyasana deva siddhim sadhigacchati nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit karyate hyavasha karma sarva prakriti jair gunai. Yeah, no, to you. Oh my gosh, sorry guys.
Oh, thank you. One cannot attain freedom from action by refraining from action, nor can one attain fulfillment by renunciation alone. No one can refrain from activity, even for a moment. Everyone is impelled to act by the modes of material nature. Thus, the person of impure consciousness should not disregard scripturally prescribed purificatory works. So, in other words, you can just, Arjuna, in the beginning of the war, he's full of compassion. He sees all of his relatives on the other side, teachers, says, I want to do this. But Krishna is saying, this is not the way. You should perform selfless action. Do your duty without thinking, oh, I want this as a result of that. Because you can go away, but you'll still be acting. Even if you sit in one place, still action is going on in the body. So that's just not a valuable idea. Better to act, but act without attachment. So, do you want to add to that, Subhash?
Well, I'm at kind of a critical point. It's Nachasanyasanadeva siddhim samadhigachati means if you pull back from your life, if you pull back from reality, that's not going to make you happy. Just renouncing everything and refusing to participate is not going to fulfill the craving that you have inside yourself. You're not going to feel what you're actually searching for. So though it might be difficult, though it may be bitter, never pull away. Always go into it, because there's something wonderful inside of it. That's what's going to be more and more highlighted. But Krishna's saying this right now. You're not going to get fulfillment from just withdrawing. It's not going to feed you what you're actually searching, what you're hungry for. Okay. Then we can do 6 and 7 and 8. Karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mityachara sauchyate yastvindriyani manasa niyamya rabhaterjuna karmendriyai karma yogam asakta sa vishishyate niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jyayo hyakarmana sharira yatra pichate nasa prasiddhi karmana.
One who externally restrains his hands, legs, and other senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, is a fool. Know him to be a hypocrite. O Arjuna, superior is one who, though married, has stabilized his senses by the mind and engaged in the yoga of selfless action. Perform your prescribed duties, since to be active is better than idleness. Inactive persons cannot even maintain their existence. By giving up fruitive action and performing your obligatory duties, your heart will be purified. Surpassing the plane of renunciation, you will attain pure devotion, transcendental to the mundane plane. Prabhupada says about this verse, he says that a street sweeper who is sincere is more advanced spiritually than someone who has followed all the shastras and completely controlled themselves and their senses, but lacks Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, that's a very deep point. So, I mean, these things may seem obvious when you read them, but they're not that obvious. What Krishna is saying is, there are many paths that advocate abnegation, which means don't do things with your body, basically. And Krishna's saying, dude, you can tie your arms up, bind your legs up, and your mind is still going to be thinking about stuff you want. It's like that's not doing it. You're still being active, and on the plane that actually matters, your consciousness, you're still in the plane of desire. So that's not going to do anything for you. But there is a way through yoga to just go through the obligations that you have in your life as an offering and make extreme progression, no matter what it is that you're doing. Okay. Then we can read 9 and 10 together. Yagyarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara sahayagya praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadham eshavos kamadhuk. All right, Gabe.
Selfless duty performed as an offering to the Supreme Lord is called
Yajna.
or sacrifice. O Arjuna, all action performed for any other purpose is the cause of bondage in this world and the repeat of birth and death. Therefore, remaining unattached to the fruits of action, perform all duties in the spirit of sacrifice. Such selfless action is the way to begin devotional practice, gradually realize the presence of the Lord, and ultimately attain pure devotion, transcendental to the modes of material nature.
Nirguna Bhakti. Then you can read 10 as well.
In the beginning, Lord Brahma manifested the progeny of the world along with sacrifices. He instructed them, thus take shelter of this religious principle of sacrifice, prosper and flourish. May such sacrifice be the bestower of the goodness you desire.
So, very simple but very profound posture toward your life. You exist for a reason, and you have to offer yourself into your duty, your obligations, the things that you have in front of you to take care of. And do it as a sacrifice. Literally just offer it up. Offer up your energy, offer up your time.
Offer to whom? Or what does that mean to offer it?
Well, ultimately you have to offer it to the Lord. But what Krishna's talking about here is a little bit of a less pure offering. He'll go to the higher place later in the Gita. But what he's saying right here is a selfless duty. Right? Even if you're just motivated by, I have some responsibility for my children, or I have some responsibility to this company, or I have some responsibility to, my family, or to the city, or whatever it is. This is my duty. I'm going to do it. That is starting on the path of actual contribution. That's sacrifice. Because ultimately, what do you have to sacrifice? You have an intention, right? You have a capacity to intend. You have a will. So you're sacrificing your will. And then what do you have that is actually like something within your grasp in this body? You have some calories, right? And you have some time. So sacrifice the few things that you have as an offering. Start to live in that way. And that's a yoga. That's a yoga. That's karma yoga. It means your actions become a yoga practice. Right? Your intention is to sacrifice, and you sacrifice that which you have. You have your intention, you have some energy, you have some time, and offer it as a sacrifice. And that's a beautiful idea of life. And then Krishna introduces a topic which we'll go into a little bit more in this chapter, which is any other purpose than sacrifice is the cause of bondage. What does that mean? It means reaction or karma is generated when you have a different intention other than that. If you're not offering your actions as a sacrifice, if your intention is some type of exploitation, then you're generating karma, like instantaneously, right? That's a cause of bondage.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is, just for if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, well, I am doing my duty, I go to work every day, I don't really want to, but I do it, and I have my family. I mean, that seems like enough. Like, why, what is different here? I mean, you're saying the intention is sacrifice and not exploitation, but how can you, what's the difference? Like, can you give an example? For example, I mean, everyone's doing that, but everyone's suffering a lot and not probably making that much progress spiritually.
Yeah.
But doing something that they consider their duty. But what is the difference? Like, what's being said here that will distinguish just an ordinary life of karma and what the Lord is saying? What is the fundamental difference? Because both of them look like sacrifice. But what you're saying, don't do it with a motive of exploitation, but what does that mean practically? What is that motive of exploitation?
Well, Krishna's about to, literally say it in maybe a few verses.
Oh, okay.
But
Right.
like on verse 19 or something.
I'm just kind of putting myself in a position of hearing.
I mean, I know you know the answer to this, but I mean
hearing this for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
the difference ultimately is intention. So karma yoga is saying you have to start to learn how to act without attachment to the result, and you have to give your action itself as a sacrifice. Your action itself is your contribution, your participation, your sacrifice to existence. And that is the only way that you can act as a yoga. Any other type of action is not a yoga. Okay, so we're trying to get yoga, right? And yoga means what? To link. So to actually have some connection to the world, you can't have your interaction with the world be as an exploiter. It's just like if I just first met Gabe and I'm like, I bet I can get $50 off this guy, right? And every interaction I do with you is to manipulate you and to give me the $50. I have an intention when I come into contact with you. It's the same intention that we might have with the world. You know what? I bet I can get this out of it, right? Now you're not going to actually know what reality is. You're not going to actually be able to link with reality. You're interacting with a major barrier in between. Ultimately, I don't care about him. I might act like I do or whatever it is, but I'm all just trying to get $50, right? We're doing the same thing with the life that we have. We're just kind of looking around and going, what can I get? What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? Right? And that way you're never linking. You're never actually performing a yoga. If you want to perform a yoga in action, like if I want to actually get to know him, well, how can I really get to know him? I want to do something for him, right? Then some actual openness and relationship can occur. So how do we interact with reality? Are we going to interact with, let me offer this. What I have, this little willpower, this little energy, this little time that I have, let me offer that. Now you may be doing a yoga, right? Krishna's saying start to change your perspective where you're not completely outcome focused, but you're actually focused on the giving of your life. And that's a yoga, right? If you can do an action with that intention, with that purpose, then you may be practicing karma yoga. And when Krishna talks about bhakti yoga later in the Gita, he's essentially saying you have to start on this process of offering it to me. If you can't offer your action to me, then offer the results to me. If you can't offer the result, he goes through this progression of like, hey, start doing some point of what you do for me, right? And then ultimately move everything. Please.
If your intention are pure, but the outcome is bad. Sometimes you have good intention, are pure, but the result is not as you hoped.
Not great.
Yeah. So what? Is it like bad karma yoga or?
Okay.
It's a good question.
It's a very good question. And it's really great to hear these kinds of questions because Arjuna asks some similar questions, right? Because this is I mean, for me, it's like Gita is like very parabolic. Like to start with karma yoga is like so high in terms of like an ideal of life. Because Krishna is basically saying, yeah, just act without any outcome in mind. And like 99.8% maybe of people, or maybe 0.9 or 0.99 maybe, I don't know. But almost everyone's gonna be like, what? And why would I act? Like, what are you talking about? Right? And that's like chapter 3. You know what I mean? It's just like, couple things. One, if we actually are acting with pure intention, that's a very high level of spiritual practice, right? Sometimes the process of spiritual life is to recognize that we have many layers within ourselves, and we have many patterns and agendas that we act with that we're not necessarily aware of. So we might we're very good at convincing ourselves of our own goodness, right? Like if I was to get in a little spat with Jacob or with Jayadev right now, I would immediately be able to tell you all the ways that my intentions were so perfect and he's a total jerk, right? We have that pattern inside of ourselves. Like we're like total ninjas, where we're very good at going like, I am so innocent and honorable and noble, and everyone else is horrible, right? Like we've got that narrative like really down, and like we're also really good at like instantly applying it to like every situation that we're in. So we kind of may have some patterns of lying to ourselves and convincing ourselves that our intentions are great, but they're not necessarily as perfect as we want them to be. But if you're truly acting in karma yoga, if you're truly giving your action as a sacrifice, then whatever result comes back, in the deeper practice, you take it as the grace of the Lord. There's one thing that's happening. The soul is offering service in love, and what is coming back is prasad, grace. It may not take the form that our current egotistic kind of framework likes, but it is good. That's a much deeper practice, but that's actually the truth. We're taking things in such a way where we're assigning goodness or badness to the result, but actually what's happening is we have a relationship with the Lord, and something that's coming to us is good. That's if we're offering properly. But also, even if we're not offering properly, we have to see that there is a controller of the fruit. Later in this chapter, Krishna will say, Karmanyevadikaraste, super famous verse. It's like on every restaurant in India, Karmanyevadikaraste mapaleshu kadachana. The fruit is mine. I'm giving the result of the action. So then we have to see that there's some sweetness in the Lord, and some correction is coming to us that is very beneficial to us. And that is the way that we can move forward in life. And that lesson might be, I need to change the way that I'm doing something. I need to change my intention. There's something coming that's correcting us. But we always have to keep that hopeful perspective, because we're an eternal being and we're on a journey that is eternal, right? We're just living a life within this phenomenon right now, but that's not everything. There's some deeper thing that's being asked of us, and in a proper life of yoga, that's going to start to come out, right? And there's joy and deep fulfillment within that. And it has to be found, not in some kind of theoretical way, but actually in a real way, right? All of this It's very, very beautiful philosophy, but in the end it's not satisfactory to have a nice structured philosophy in your head. The thing that you're searching for is some fulfillment, some actual taste in life. And what Krishna is saying is, by sacrificing, you will get fulfillment. You will get happiness in this life and the next. But without sacrifice, there will be no happiness in this life or the next. That's another verse that's coming up. So we have to offer and sacrifice and be cheerful when it comes back. Cheerful. And see sweetness and goodness within that. But these are very high yoga practices, really. That's what I'm saying. Krishna is going like straight up, right? But it's very good. It's very helpful for us because now we have some a really actually noble ideal in life, right? Something that's a guiding principle. And then, our relationship will build. We can start to trust the Lord because you will find something wonderful even in the negative things that occur. And you will see that some deeper journey and deeper path is being traversed. And you will feel very happy and glad about that. Without going into specifics. Because every one of us is having a different experience of life.
Yeah, I have a question. So you said that Christians kind of starting small here, like devotion to like your employer, your family, your friends. I guess I'm wondering is that karmic as well? Is that a yoga? Is that because sometimes I'd really like to do things as an offering to Krishna. But sometimes I feel like I'm equipped to even do things as an offering to my family. So it seems like I'm kind of jumping the gun there. So I guess my question is that a good place to start? Is that still like a problem? Is that still material engagement?
Yeah.
Acting like that.
Yeah. So, we're in the temple of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is on the altar. Mahaprabhu's advice is you have to immediately start offering yourself to Krishna. Krishna himself is a little more hesitant in kind of advocating for himself in the Gita, right? Later he's much more clear with Arjuna, but the chapter that he's clear when he finally says, "Look, I'm at the basis of reality," right? That's Raja Guhya Yoga. Means this is the royal hidden truth, right? That is a hidden truth at the time that Krishna was saying that. But Mahaprabhu was advocating that you should do everything for Krishna, immediately. You should breathe for Krishna, you should blink your eyes for Krishna, you should walk your steps into the office for Krishna, you should go home and cook your dinner for Krishna. You should live your life as a reciprocation, as a relationship, as an offering. And Krishna later in the Gita says such sweet things. Come into relationship with me. Patram pushpam phalam tayam. Take a leaf that you find. Say, oh man, if you really look at a leaf, it's just magic, right? Oh, what a magic. I offer this. Nobody's looking. It's in the privacy of your own moment in the day. But you start to offer in your life, really, right? But Krishna is kind of hesitatingly, moving into that. It takes maybe, I would say, 9 chapters before Krishna actually kind of, tells Arjuna, what's up, in the deeper sense. That relationship with him is at the basis of the joy, the inexhaustible nectar, the fulfillment of life. But in the context that this is spoken also, it's a little bit different society. In that society, everyone had a duty when they were born. And Krishna's saying, do that duty. Our society is very different. We're not we're just coming into the world going am I going to be a garbage man? Am I going to be, an office worker? Am I going to, start a company. Like, we're just wide open, right? But in the context of our life, it means we have some things we need to do when I wake up today. Can I see those things I need to do as a sacrifice? This is my opportunity to sacrifice, right? And start to interact with our life in that mood, to happily give ourselves to the things that we need to take care of. And Guru Maharaj says directly many times, karma yoga leads to bhakti yoga. You have to start to make this motion of sacrifice, this motion of giving, this actual like letting go of what we consider to be ours and just starting to, here you go, right? And any progression on that path is super profound and deep and never lost. Okay. What do you think? Okay? Okay. I remember one time we were reading this chapter, there was like a college kid. His name was Hemanga. He lives in Chicago now. And he was just like, wait, what is this? Grew up in India, like going to temples all the time. And he was like, wait, what is this? Why would I go to class if I didn't want to get an A? What are you talking about? No attachment to the result, you know? It's a really hard, like, you know, paradigm shift. Very, very deep shift in how we approach things. And it doesn't mean you're not trying for the A. It just means that you're not fully consumed that must manifest in order for me to be happy that I gave the effort. Give the effort. Okay. Verse 11. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu va parasparam bhavayanta Shreya param avapsyatha Ishtan bhogan hibo deva Dasyante yagya bhavita Tair dattana pradayaibhyo Yo bhukte stena eva saha. Alright. Sorry, so thank you.
Propitiate the gods by sacrifices, and may they satisfy you by bestowing your desired fruits. In this way, through mutual nourishment, you will be the gainers of great auspiciousness. Propitiated by sacrifices, the gods, my worldly representatives, will bestow upon you all your desired enjoyable things. But one who enjoys what is given by the gods without offering it to them is a thief.
Okay, let's just continue this. This is the Lord quoting Lord Brahma. Yagya shishtashina santo muchyante sarvakil vishay bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachantyatma karana anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava yagyad bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhava karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagye pratishtitam.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah, please.
So it says like we have to sacrifice for God, and then we will be bestowed with the desired fruits.
Yeah.
But if we do that, isn't it a greed?
So Krishna is going somewhere with this point. He's quoting the Vedic philosophy of the time. So this is 5,000 years ago. This is like, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Rig Veda. This is very, very, very ancient scriptures, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years old, right? And Krishna is quoting this to back up the point of sacrifice. Now, understand the society at that time. This is what he's saying is like accepted knowledge at that time, right? He's not telling something new to Arjuna. Arjuna already knows this. Everyone who grew up in that society knows this. Think about the society, right? The society is an agrarian society. There are kings and everything, but basically everything is moving on a cow economy, okay? And what's coming out of the cow is the milk. The milk gets condensed into butter. The butter is clarified, and what comes out is ghee, right? And then, there's all the raising of the cows, the bulls who are doing the agriculture work, the babies come out, right? Then you finally get the milk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the agricultural cycle of that society, you get ghee. It's like the condensed output, right? And ghee is an amazing substance. But what do? Constantly in that society? They take that condensed output, chant mantras to the gods, the universal gods, and pour the ghee into the fire. So you're sacrificing the total output of not just your work, the whole society's work, you're sacrificing it as an offering, right? And Krishna's saying, and the understanding of that society at that time, just sacrifice, and what is necessary will come to you by the grace of all these kind of higher dimensional beings, right? So he's just saying that. Like, that's the understanding of that society. And he's saying that as a understanding ultimately of his point, which is, don't be afraid to sacrifice. If you sacrifice, happiness will come to you. Just like in this way of, like for him, he's quoting accepted knowledge, right? Just like you understand that if you just sacrifice, to the gods, you'll get rainfall and everything else, and you'll have a nice society. What, if you really think about it, what do people want? They want fulfillment. And what Krishna's saying is, if you sacrifice, you'll get fulfillment. The thing that you actually want. You might in your head think, oh, I want this object, and I want to put that one on my shelf, and I want this one in my garage, and blah, blah, blah. Right? You might think that that's what you want, but that's not what you want. What you want is fulfillment. What Krishna's saying is, if you sacrifice, you'll get fulfillment. Just like, Lord Brahma is saying, just sacrifice, and you'll get all the things you need.
So she's asking, is that greed, though? Is it greedy to have that mood that I'm going to sacrifice and get stuff?
Yeah, but
Was that your question?
Krishna's not saying that. He's using that as an example to back up his point, which is all you need to do is sacrifice, and you're going to get what you need. Just like Lord Brahma is saying, by sacrifice, you're going to get, the society gets what they need.
Yeah.
Like that.
For example.
Yeah.
But this is not the final conclusion about
Yeah.
that.
So he's saying you have to enter into a relationship with reality. You're not just by yourself as the center of this like incredible phenomenon, and you just want stuff, right? You have to stop this relationship with the world, which we sort of default into, which is, I want to give the least that I possibly can and get the most that I possibly can, right? In fact, there's like a pressure in our society that like the guys who really know what they're doing, they have zero sacrifice, zero offering, zero service, and they get all the stuff. Right? That's like called being a winner, right? And it's a really screwed up society. And Krishna's saying, like, stop this whole train of thought. Understand that if you give, you're going to receive your fulfillment. So whatever you do in your life, you should be acting as a giver. Don't have this relationship with life, which is, I'm going to be really miserly with all my stuff. Nobody's getting anything. But everybody better be freaking giving to me or we're going to have a problem. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a really messed up mentality. The good mentality is you offer, you sacrifice, and then you receive from a relationship, not from a a mood that I'm going to exploit you and I want all the stuff. And if I can give little and get more, yeah, good. Right? Not like that. That's Krishna's point. And naturally, what you need will come to you. But you have to trust that relationship. You're not going into the relationship. What Krishna's saying is, you're going to get what you need. Just sacrifice. But the minute you start saying, okay, I'm going to sacrifice, but I want, a 2020, I want a 2026 whatever, G-Wagon, okay?
Mostly we do that. As a human, I feel like mostly like we sacrifice, we just give offering. Oh, please God, do this to me.
Yes, and see, this is, so first of all, that's completely like a business transaction, right? Like if you actually love someone, and you have a transactional relationship like that, it's just mutual exploitation, right? It's like, well, okay, I'll give you a back rub, but you better give me a back rub, and really, I want more of a back rub because I did this other thing for you, and I did all the dishes tonight, and but like you're just gonna have this like really like, did I give more than you gave? Like hell, okay? Krishna's saying, stop that relationship with reality. Just give. And trust what comes back to you is what you actually need. Because the other thing is that we trust our own desires. Like we think, oh, if I just had a G-Wagon, I'd be happy. Or I'm just making that up. But whatever it is that we have in our own head, we've got, I don't want a G-Wagon. I was just talking about a G-Wagon like earlier today. But we have this idea of like, whatever it is for us and for you and for me and whatever it is, like, if this one thing just happened, or if I just got this one thing and then I'd be happy.
How do we stop? Like most of the human does that. I feel like when I see,
Of course.
mostly they do something.
Because they're not practicing yoga, right? I mean, this whole book, I would say the next 4 chapters about how we stop that. Okay, that's a very, very important point, right? Because now Krishna's given this ideal. Live a life of sacrifice. And now you have a position to evaluate your own spiritual relationship with reality. Because now you can look at yourself and go like, oh crap, have I ever sacrificed? Like, right? Now you can actually examine your spiritual life. Because everything that we're doing is very transactional. You're absolutely right. And Krishna's saying, stop transacting with reality. Learn how to be a giving unit. And everything you need will come to you. Trust that. And the other thing that's really messed up about how we think is we trust our desire completely. Right? So when we really, really want something, we think, oh, if I just had this thing, then I'd be happy.
And then you have more.
We're totally wrong. So not only are we demanding that reality give us that thing, but the thing that we're demanding is actually not going to give us fulfillment. So it's like a really diseased condition, right? That we only deal with reality like a business relationship. There's no actual feeling. There's just exploitation. Just like I'm coming to Gabe and going like, gotta get that 50. I know he's got it. I know he's got it. Right? Okay. I know you do. Let me try that. No, I'm kidding. Right? It's like we're interacting with reality like that. But then the other thing we have in our head is, if I got that 50 from him, I'd be happy. And that's also a lie. So there's like 2 levels of lie going on, and our whole life is going away trying to satisfy 2 lies. Right? It's all wrong. So Krishna's starting the real practice of yoga. This is the first actual chapter in the Gita. The chapter 2 is like a summary. This is the real start of the Gita. The first thing Krishna says, you want to practice yoga? Start to learn to sacrifice.
But the poor people, they sacrifice with all. They don't have anything, and they still give everything.
Yeah.
And still they suffer. That's what I don't understand. Like the poor people who.
Well, so, but the intention is everything. Okay?
So is it better to be poor?
Not necessarily, no. The devotee does not say be poor or don't be poor. Those are external things. What is important
but
is...
you have greed, you become more raised, you become more like, you don't have that open arms. If you're poor, you have better like open arms, and
Yes.
they are the one who suffer though. And the more
But
money we
see,
have,
you're making external rules on consciousness. You're saying if you're poor, then you're like this, and if you're not poor, then you're like this. And those are not truths. This yoga needs to be practiced by everyone, regardless of their financial situation. Right? A poor person can also be very, very terrible at sacrificing. Right? And there are plenty of poor people that are poor and not sacrificing. Even though they don't have anything, with the few things they have, they're super stingy and miserly with them. Right? Right? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that because of a particular financial position that you have more or less sacrifice. What's important is that you start to sacrifice in your life. Right? And for us, we don't like to necessarily judge the inner heart of anyone else. I don't want to say someone has sacrificed, someone else doesn't. What we all have to do individually within ourselves is have a real honest look inside of ourselves and say, am I sacrificing?
I always ask that question to me.
Really?
Sometimes
That's very deep, honestly.
I'm like, do my greed is increasing because like I'm making more money now?
Uh-huh.
And like 5 years ago when I had half,
Yeah.
like I used to make half,
Yeah.
and now it's still I make double. It's still like I don't have money to like help my family, like still the same condition.
Well, yeah, because
Is
the
it
inflation
me?
doubled too.
That's what came to my mind when you said like how do you stop? Because like you could read the Gita and it seems so obvious, like this is like your path to fulfillment, this is what will make you happy. But then it's like, I don't know, my impulse on coming across this stuff is like, oh, okay, I'll start tomorrow. And then you find it's really
Hard.
really difficult.
Am
Like
I being
conditioning
greedy
the
now?
addiction.
It's just like you're questioning yourself.
Okay, but now you can understand, if you're really truly having that ideal inside of yourself, first of all, congratulations. Okay, because that is lifetimes can go by and not have that. Okay, the ideal is everything. If you truly have that ideal, that is honestly a very wonderful thing. But the practice of and ultimately karma yoga is not the ideal. The ideal is bhakti yoga. It means it has to be for Krishna. That's where the real juice is, the real relationship. Right? And then that world is a world of Godhead. It's not just Krishna. Now everything becomes very much alive. But the practice is not something where you just receive the ideal and then you do it. Just imagine the like an aspiring Ashtanga yogi or an aspiring Hatha yogi, right? Where now you're working on a particular posture. Okay? You can't do it. There's a lot of analogy to the physical yoga moving into the actual deeper yoga, which is consciousness yoga. Physical yoga is analogous. It's a very good practice. Your body feels better when you do physical yoga. Why? There's so much more movement of energy naturally and all these kinds of things. But it's all not meant to have a body that feels good. It's meant to be a practice of linking. So think about yourself. Now you're doing the deeper yoga, conscious yoga. You're trying to put yourself in a position of sacrificing. Okay? Well, you're pretty dang brittle and tight, and you're trying to get into the posture of sacrificing. You're like, I can't even freaking move my arm out. You know what I mean? Okay, that's okay. Try and move your arm out. It's just think of it as a physical position, but it's a conscious position. Now you actually have something to practice. Because otherwise, it's all, you don't know what you're doing. So now you have some posture of your interaction with reality that you're now searching toward in your life. And now you can see where your resistance is, right? Like some person might have a really, really tight hamstring. And the other guy's got a bad back, and the other guy's shoulder hurts when he's doing it, right? Everybody's got their own resistances inside of them that is going to keep them from actually making a sacrifice in their life. But by trying to get into that position, you start to understand where your resistance is. Now you have something to do. Now this is moving out of the world of theory and into actually understanding inside yourself what your pattern is. What is that little thing that keeps me from doing that, right? And those are the things that make your practice within the conscious world very tangible, right? Because all this stuff can seem very like, when you're moving your body, it's like, okay, I cannot move my arm like that. When you're doing something conscious, you can just easily convince yourself, I was like, I sacrificed for like 5 days and I got nothing, but it's like, did you really, right? Like, you have to rely on your own sincerity and your own honesty. And then you start to, like some of the songs that you read by the saints, now you start to understand these songs. Am I even sincere? Why am I enslaved to this particular pattern? Wow. Right? Now you can start to feel some of these things. They're not just like words by some guy in India 500 years ago. They're like super relevant to your life and super beautiful. So this ideal of sacrifice provides a basis for you to actually start to move into that posture in your life in a real way that's not theoretical. And then, start to feel your own resistances, start to feel your forgetfulness. I mean, one of the things that always blows me away is like, I'll go through my whole day, I'm like on the phone, I got all this stuff, and I'm like, what just happened? Like 6 hours just went by and I didn't think of God once. You know what I mean? Now you just recognize that oh my God, I'm just in a pattern. I'm autopilot.
And without the practice, you don't notice.
Right. You don't notice that. It's not like you come back, out of your day and go you have nothing to evaluate. You can come back out of your day and evaluate yourself and be like, oh my God. I'm just in an auto. I mean, I do this all the time. I used to work in Draper. I still, if I'm spaced out, just automatically get on the highway and start driving to Draper. And I'm like, what is happening? It's just totally spaced out, right? Yeah, it has to become real. We have to identify our resistances, and we have to make that practice more and more center in the moments of our day. And the most important thing in the life of any bhakti yogi is you have to start feeling reciprocation, relationship. You're going to understand you're not sacrificing into nothing. You're sacrificing into the conscious whole, the Supreme Lord. And I'm not saying you don't understand that, but there is going to be reciprocation, response.
What is sacrifice of a mom, sacrifice of a daughter, sacrifice is a sister?
No, I mean, Krishna goes through this later in the Gita. Sacrifice your breath. Sacrifice your eyes blinking. Sacrifice the next step that you take. Sacrifice in your life. Offer it. Don't think that there's anything that's not meaningful. You don't know why you have to blink your eyes. There's a whole ton of animals that don't. Okay? Like you do. Why do you have to sleep? Later, Mahaprabhu said, I'm forgetting the line right now, but it's like, ki shayane, ki bhojane, ki ba jagarane. Right? Ki shayane means sleeping. Can you make your sleeping a remembrance of the Lord? Why do you have to sleep? You don't even know why. You just do.
We can function.
Yeah, but why do you have a body that has to do that?
Yeah.
You didn't come up with that. You just have to. Okay?
In this life.
So offer it. Mahaprabhu says, ki shayane, sleeping, when you're sleeping. Ki bhojane, when you're eating. Why do you have to eat? You don't freaking know. You have to. Okay, make your eating a sacrifice.
How do you do that?
That's the practice of bhakti yoga, okay? How do we do that? There's so many things that we try to remember. Smarana sadhana, but there's also mantra meditation. We should always be taking the name of the Lord. Shri Radha, Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, who are behind everything. Their dance, their play that we want to serve. This is the motion of bhakti yoga. All your questions are like super profound because this is the thing. How do we do that? How do we feel connected in every moment of our life? Yoga means connection. You have to be connected in every moment. That's the ideal. And, those who have tasted that, they're saying extreme things. Inexhaustible, fresh infinities of new nectar are being created at every instant. That's what's actually happening in reality, in conscious reality. But we have to move a little bit in our own life and try to move there. Okay.
Could I just add this little thing, this anecdotal, but when you were saying how do you do that, because I'm always so with mother and all these things. And there's this movie I saw years and years ago, and in this movie there's a song. He says, "I've often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. Anyway, now I know that you live here. This street has become so sweet to me." So whatever we're doing, whatever everyone's doing as a mother and a sister and a daughter and who's cooking and all these things, they may be feeling no taste, just ordinary nothing. But suddenly we realize that the Lord is in the center of everything, and it suddenly becomes this wonderful thing. The cooking suddenly becomes sweet because I'm going to offer this to you. And I'm going to offer this ride to work to you. And suddenly, like when someone falls in love, everything seems so wonderful. We need to fall in love with the personality of Godhead and do everything for him and feel his presence in our life, because he will reciprocate. And it's not what we necessarily expect. This is your first question. Like sometimes I want to do something, but the result is not at all what I wanted. But when the result is not what we had in mind, it's often, if we are careful and think, yes, my Lord, then we see that result was really pushing me more towards him, which is the goal of the whole show. Without that goal, the whole thing is just like, then it's just over and we don't even remember it in our next life. So the meaning is that it's for him. Then everything becomes significant and meaningful and sweet.
Yeah. Maybe we can actually sing that song. Because now we're almost at 8 o'clock. We got through 12 verses. That was good.
On the street where you live?
No. This line, ki shayane, ki bhojane, ki vajagarane. Whether you're sleeping, whether you're eating, wherever you go, because your day's going to take you somewhere. Aharnisha chinta Krishna. Be conscious of Krishna. Bolo ho vadane. And say his name with your voice. That's a way to live. And it's very rich, magical way to live. What was absolutely mundane before becomes perfect beauty. Perfect beauty. The Lord is behind everything. Guru Maharaj says you have to learn to see the smiling face behind the curtain. Such beauty, such sweetness, such unconditional love. Actually, where the love is missing is from us. But Guru Maharaj is saying you have to learn to sacrifice, because sacrifice is the basis of love.
I believe that.
It's the truth. It has no meaning other than that, right? Oh, I love you. Oh, you love me? Yeah, give me stuff now.
I feel more happy when I never expect anything in return, whatever I do. So I'm always happy because of that, I think.
Well, that is, I mean, really, truly, honestly, that is extremely beautiful. And what can I say? You know, you sacrifice for Mahaprabhu, sacrifice for the Lord, your life will become sublime. You know, you can sacrifice for everyone, but also see the Lord behind that. Sacrifice for your beautiful little kids. And he's getting really big, man. But see the Lord behind that, you know, because he is Paramatma. Okay, maybe we can sing that song, actually. And we will start on verse 13.
We could put our markers in there.
Jai Sriman Bhagavad Gita Upanishad ki jai, Jai Shri Krishna Shri Arjuna ki jai, Kurukshetra Dham ki jai, Jai Vishnupada Shri Bhakti Rakshana Shri Bhakti Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Guru Mere Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Rupananda Guru Bhagavad ki jai. Okay. Then Prabhu Kohe.
Prabhu 299.
Anyone want to sing this? Prabhu Kohe, Kohila, Hey Mahamantra, Prabhu Kohe, Kohila, Hey Mahamantra, Iha Japa, Giya Sabe, Korea Nirbandha, Iha Japa, Giya Sabe, Korea Nirbandha, Iha Haite, Sarva Siddhi, Aive Savara. Thank you. jai, Jai Giriraj ji ki jai,
Jai.
Mahaprasad ki jai,
Jai.
Nitai Gaur
All the lovely sweethearts attending
Jai.
class tonight.
ki jai.
Jai Prabhu. When you finish the streaming, will I go clean up the tables outside?
But I'm happy that, like, I actually have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Why?
Huh?
Because I have, like, 2 more